Super Mario Bros. For NES is one of the greatest games of all time, period. We're going to talk about why it's one of the greatest games of all time. We're going to talk about why this game and this grade is so important. We're going to talk about all the different box variations, hang tabs and seals and round SOQs and oval SOQs and what that all means and when they all released. But first, we're going to talk about why this game is one of the most iconic games ever. First and foremost, this is the first game in the Super Mario Bros. Series. There's Bros 2 and Bros 3 that also released for NES, and there's a number of other games that have released in the decades following the release of Bros 1. This is one of the greatest games of all time, and the highest selling NES game of all time, having sold 58 million copies worldwide. That makes it the 6th highest selling video game of all time, only behind Minecraft, Grand Theft Auto 5, Tetris, Wii Sports, and PUBG. This game was created by Shigeru Miyamoto, and if you don't know who he is, all I'll say about him instead of going into his long list of accomplishments is that Time called him the Spielberg of video games. He is the single greatest video game designer in the opinions of many video game enthusiasts. Then the score for this game is by Koji Kondo, one of the best video game composers of all time. He also composed Zelda, Bros 2 and 3, Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and a plethora of other games that you've probably played. So this was one of the original black box games that Nintendo released for NES. There were 30 black box games that Nintendo released for the Nintendo Entertainment System, but only 17 of them released alongside the console in October of 1985. One of them was the Super Mario Bros. Game. The other 16 include games like volleyball, ice climber, pinball, and many others. In this game, you control Mario, or you can play as Luigi if you play in multiplayer mode, but you travel through Mushroom Kingdom to rescue Princess Toadstool from King Koopa, otherwise known as Bowser. Super Mario Bros. Was incredibly ahead of its time. It revolutionized the video game industry, and that 2D left-right gameplay that we've all become so familiar with was cemented in history with the release of this game. And that's all I say about this game for now. I can make a 30-minute or a 60-minute video or write a book about why this game's so important and how it changed things for video games for decades to come. But that's not what this video is about. I want to talk a little bit about the grading of this game, the box of this game, the different shrink wraps and seals and oval SOQs and round SOQs. So let's get into that next. We'll save the grading for the end. The earliest NES games were released in October of 1985, and they actually did not have a shrink wrap. They instead had a sticker seal on the top and bottom. It was a small black circular sticker with a Nintendo logo on it. That was the earliest release. They eventually then switched to a shrink wrap seal, and they got rid of the hang tag on the back of the box. The oval SOQ that you see here, which stands for Seal of Quality, means that it is a 1989 release or later. They did not introduce the oval SOQ until March of 1989. Before that, it was a round SOQ. The Rev A that you see in the bottom right corner stands for Revision A. There are no oval SOQs without a Rev A, since the Rev A happened about 15 months before the switch to oval SOQs. The Rev A signifies a switch from a 5-screw cartridge to a 3-screw cartridge, which we won't even really get into the cartridges and the manual variations because this one's a sealed copy and we'll keep it pretty specific to the boxes. Then below the SOQ, we also have a TM or an R here. In this case, we have an R. So the TM would stand for trademark, which means that it's still in the process of getting the trademark. After the trademark is officially registered, they'll switch a TM to an R. So this one we have here is an R copy. It's an R oval SOQ. That means that this game was released sometime between March 1990 and December 1994. So that's the game that we have here. Now let's talk about the grading for a second. Why the grading is so important. So WADA graded this video game. WADA grading is different than grading of cards or some other different assets. Basically the way it works is they have half-point intervals all the way up to 9.0, and then after 9.0 they go to 0.2 intervals. So there's a 9.2, a 9.4, 9.6, 9.8, and a 10.0. The game we have here is a 9.2 with an A+ seal. Of all the video games that have been graded by WADA, all of this game that have been graded by WADA, there are less than 30 of this variation with a higher grade. So it really does not get much better than this. All in all, we have one of the best games of all time, we have a unique box variation, and we have an extremely high grade, making this one of the most rare items you could hope to own of one of the best video games of all time.